Chair now recognizes himself for his 5 minutes. And I'm going to ask questions quickly and ask you to answer quickly so I can fit them all in. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Buller, for a change. Have you had difficulty at EPA, at Peace Corps with your agency, in terms of access to information and responsiveness to requests made?
Access, we've had a couple of little issues, but they've been worked through. We've had other issues, however, in dealing with General Counsel interpretations of our policy that try to limit the people who can come to us to report things, and also try to limit the way that we conduct our criminal investigations relating to volunteer drug use.
And what's your redress? When that happens, what can you do?
We have so far been working with the agency and to try to resolve the issue, and hopefully we can do that. But as with the access issue, we do understand that we can come to Congress if we.
Please do.
Thank you.
Because I think on a bipartisan basis, we're committed to making sure you can do your job. Mr. Horowitz, one of the things that's come to our attention is, allegations of wrongdoing and sexual harassment within the federal judiciary. And what we discovered was, however, the administrative office of the courts does not have an IG. As chairman of CIGIE, do you all have an opinion about whether we ought to establish an IG for the administrative office of the federal courts of the United States?
I'm not going to weigh in on what should happen with another branch of government, because obviously it raises various constitutional
How very careful.
But I will say that, speaking of our own work in the department, we've played a very important role in addressing sexual harassment, sexual misconduct in the Justice Department, and I'm not confident that would have occurred in the absence of an Inspector General.
And so therefore, inferentially, one could conclude from that statement that we all benefit from having IGs, and presumably another branch of government might benefit too.
I think there is a value in having independent oversight in whatever form it takes, and it's been my concern and why I appreciate the issues of prosecutorial.
I would just say to my friend, the distinguished ranking member of this subcommittee, I think this is an issue we want to look into, because I think the legislative branch could benefit just like the judicial branch could benefit just like both the executive and legislative branches have benefited. Mr. Dahl, transparency. My own experience and that of a former colleague of this committee was not felicitous with respect to transparency and communication when we presented to CIGIE an issue of professional behavior and ethical behavior. And putting aside who and the merits, I'm focused on process. What has happened? I mean, you indicated in your testimony you want to protect whistleblowers and people who come forward and so forth, and we agree. But on the other hand, we also want to make sure that a legitimate complaint or allegation brought to you is also respectfully managed and adjudicated, as opposed to, we found no merit, thanks for calling us. Can you address that a little bit in terms of what's happened in the last 4 or 5 years to improve how we handle legitimate concerns brought to your attention? Because it's a delicate matter investigating a colleague, and you're a small community. We understand that. We have that problem up here, trying to look at the ethics of a colleague. Very difficult, very painful. But if you don't do it, who will? And so I'm interested in not how you proceed in the investigation, but once it's completed or judgment is made, how do you dispose of it with respect to the complainant?
We share your that this is a legitimate interest for the complainant, and the transparency has to be there, as the chairman noted, for us to have that credibility with the public and with Congress. And so we've endeavored in our policies and procedures to build into those a communication mechanism, both to Congress. Certainly it's in the Empowerment Act now, that we would inform Congress, and at Congress's request we can provide that kind of level of detail to the complainants, we look carefully at those and identify what information we can relate to the complainant, at the same time protecting, as I said before, the confidentiality of the
And
witness.
if I may interrupt, it's, the other thing you're trying to protect, and I understand that, and I think we're totally on board with you, is protecting someone's innocent reputation. Anyone can make a complaint about anything at any time. That doesn't mean it's legit, and it certainly means we need to be careful with that kind of thing, because raw data about complaints does not tell you anything. And there may not be any merit to it. We want to respect that. But on the other hand, as I said, where a legitimate complaint about behavior by an IG comes to your attention, we've got to have confidence that it's been carefully vetted and adjudicated, and a rational explanation that is more than we looked at it and there's nothing there, certainly when it comes to Congress, but even somebody within an agency or the public, as you pointed out, I think is entitled to more than that kind of dismissive answer. Mr. Horowitz, and then my time's up. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, just briefly. As I said, this was one of the first issues we talked about in January 2015 when I became chair of CIGIE.
That's right.
The issue had already been pending, and I was, as we talked about, surprised at the response you got, or the lack of response you got. I think there has been a significant change since then, with two intervening events. One, Congress passing the IG Empowerment Act, and the second being the change in chairmanship of the committee so that CIGIE owns the process now. Not that the FBI didn't care about the process or be part of it, they did. The problem is the FBI has 35,000 employees and a lot of significant issues on their plate, and IG oversight probably isn't the highest priority on their plate.
And there was also sort of a built-in bias, wasn't there? Not a negative thing to say. They're a law enforcement agency. So they're looking at illegal behavior, criminal behavior. Well, we're looking at broader than that.
Right.
We're looking at
Agreed.
be purer than driven snow.
Right. Yeah, I had this discussion with them when I came on board also. I get it. I worked with FBI agents. They have no authority to handle non-criminal administrative matters as part of their day jobs.
That's right.
So this was a collateral duty for them. We obviously understand the significance of it for all the reasons you've articulated and how to do them. And so I think there has been an important change with both the shift in management of it, but also the policies and procedures put in. We very much look forward to continuing the dialogue with you. We couldn't agree more that the public, members of Congress, all of our stakeholders have to be confident in what we do. It's one of the reasons on the whistleblower side we've put so much effort into reaching out to the community, the stakeholders there, set up the web page, done that work, because they need to know they can trust us and come to us. Same here. We want, if there's real misconduct, actual misconduct, we also want to hear about it. We want to be the ones to find it. We want to be the ones to investigate it. We have, and I appreciate your comment about the numbers, because if anyone looks at just the incoming complaints versus the actual numbers, they might wonder, how do you get from 1,000 or more to 10 or 20 or 5? But we have a similar issue at our DOJ. I get 10,000 plus complaints a year. A lot of those shouldn't belong with us and don't belong with us.
Yeah.
And here we have the added situation of it being easy to make a retaliatory complaint against an IG for doing their jobs, and then complaining that somehow we were corrupt in what we did.
Or biased.
Or biased.
Yeah.
Now, that's not an unfair matter to come to us. To be clear, I'm not saying that never could be the case, but the risk is it's coming to us solely because we did our jobs.
I thank you so much.